and just talk to them a little bit about how going to an Adventist school benefited you. And if you're not sitting near somebody, you might have to get a little closer. I'll come over and talk to you, Deborah. And if you went to public school, talk to somebody about how going to school in general benefited you. What did that do for you? Because that's pretty important too. For art. Okay, so I'm going to break into your group discussions now. So, would anybody like to share with us something that you heard or you shared with somebody else? If you would, you can raise your hand, and I will come around and let you share what how what benefits school had for you, or going to Adventist school had for you. Over here.
Well, when I was in my younger years, I was one of those that I did both. I went to public school and I went to Adventist school. And in my earliest elementary years, when I switched from public school to Adventist school, I actually went to one-room schoolhouse. And there were 14 of us total, grades K through 8. And my teacher, I'll never forget her, Ethel Labard. She is the one that put the love of God's word in my heart. She was a teacher that when I struggled with math problems, she would lay her hands on me and pray over me that God would open my mind and help me receive the concepts. She made artwork in the Bible. It was like everything she did was Bible-based. Everything she taught us from history on was completely Bible-based. It was the most wonderful experience. And it was totally different. I really believe that if I had not been there, I wouldn't be where I am now.
Well, I have to say that I totally believe that too, that if I hadn't, even though I didn't go to academy until I didn't go to an Adventist school till I was in 11th grade, I think it made a huge difference in my life.
I did not go to church school, but my kids did. And from what they told me was exactly what Debbie said, that if they hadn't gone to church school, their life might be different because they learned so much of respect and love. But once they got out of 8th grade and went to a regular school, it was a shock to them.
I heard Art say something similar, that he gained a lot of biblical foundation from being in Adventist schools, and he learned about the history of the Adventist church. Oh, somebody back there? Yes, ma'am. I'm coming.
I always love the education, but my 3 better years in school was from the 7 to the 9, and I was in a boarding school on Seventh-day Adventist in Panama, and I have such a good teachers, and we had a really spiritual time in that home with all these girls and everything. For me, that was really amazing to be those 3 years in boarding school and learn so much from those teachers that I have. I really enjoyed that. Those my 3 best years in school.
Wonderful. I know when I went away to academy, my father wasn't an Adventist, which is why I never went to any other school till I was any Adventist school. And I think that if I hadn't gone away to Adventist school, that my father would have never become an Adventist. But he became so impressed by the teachers, by the teachers in the academy that I went to, that he later on in his later years did decide to become a Seventh-day Adventist. So that was always very meaningful to me. So we talk about schools being evangelistic. Art gets up and tells us that our best evangelistic center is across the street, right? Amen. And that's very, very true. It is our best I think it is very true that's a wonderful evangelistic center for us across the street. So I have another question to ask you. So our Adventist school system and actually public school systems as well are sort of outgrowths of the Reformation, the Reformation back at the end of the Middle Ages, 1600s, with Martin Luther and Melanchthon and a few of those gentlemen. Why do you think public education and as well as Christian education are outgrowths of that time? Why was education important to Martin Luther? Does anybody have an idea?
I'm going to speculate. Martin Luther preached in the local language, not in Latin. He wanted the Bible to be read in the local language, in the language people understood. They needed to learn to read so they could read it for themselves. That was key to the Reformation, is access to the Bible. And if you're illiterate, then you have to believe what somebody tells you. So they had to go to school, they had to learn to read, and then they could read the Bible for themselves.
How many of you think he's right? Does that make sense to you? Yeah, he actually is absolutely on the dot right, because of course Martin Luther and other reformers were very concerned that people would read the Bible and be able to read the Bible and interpret it for themselves. It was the priesthood of all believers. That meant all believers needed to understand what the Bible said, and he wanted these schools to be actually in the churches of the Reformation then it was very common to have boxes, because he also felt that the rich people, the wealthy people, should help the poorer people to get an education. And so there would be boxes in which money would be placed to help pay teachers' salaries. In those days in Germany, all the schools were public, and there was Bible instruction in the public type schools. And so this money went to help to provide teachers for these schools. So our church school today is sort of an outgrowth of that, and its history, the history of education as well as government in the United States comes from those Reformation days. And so it's very important for us to be able to help our kids. So we have a school across the street that we can, that I'm sure some of you are helping in some ways to keep our kids in that school. Now, I want to ask you another question. I want somebody to look at the back of your Sabbath School Quarterly, if you have it, and tell me where the mission offering is going to go for this quarter on 13th Sabbath. Okay, well, yeah, that's right. I heard everybody say it, so I maybe don't need to take him the microphone. North American Division. And do you see some of the projects it's going to go to? What projects? Can you read that fine print?
Not hardly.
It's right here. So I know you need a magnifying glass. Does anybody have a large print quarterly so you can read it?
SDA Indian School.
Okay, all right. So yeah, the SDA Indian School. Okay, here I'm going to let you speak in the microphone maybe and read some more of those.
Let's see if I can
read the rest. I know. Okay, the school in Alberta, Canada. And yes, something about the Marshall Islands. Yes.
I think it's about the Marshall. I think it's Palau in the Marshall Islands. And I just want to tell you, I don't know if you all know it, but one of our church members, Rosemarie Bell, her son teaches in Palau in the Adventist school there. So just when we're giving that 13th Sabbath offering, we're going to be helping her son as he teaches in Palau. And we're going to watch the mission video today. It's going to focus on two of those schools, the one in Holbrook and the one in Palau. And as we watch the mission video, I want you to watch and see if you see anybody you know, because a lot of Southern students go to Palau and to other places in the Marshall Islands as student missionaries. I saw at least one familiar face in the video that we're going to watch today. So see if you can see any of those. See if you see anybody you know. You may know somebody different than I do. But I'd like to show you that to you today. And as we go through this quarter, we're looking towards the end of this quarter, and we're going to be thinking about giving our special offering for 13th Sabbath for these three projects in Holbrook, Arizona, and in Canada, and in the Marshall Islands, Palau. Isn't it funny that Palau is part of the North American Division? It's a little island out in the middle of the Pacific, but I guess it must be a U.S. protectorate. And that's why it is. Okay, so let's roll the video. Thanks.
Around the world, Adventist education serves as a platform of opportunity for thousands of students. Schools provide quality education to inspire a brighter future. Beyond that, Adventist education shares an even greater hope with its students, a hope in Jesus. In many cases, students have come to know a loving God through caring and thoughtful teachers. Across the North American Division, there are more than 1,100 Adventist primary and secondary schools. This territory spans over 12 time zones, from Bermuda in the east to Palau in the west. This gives Adventist schools the opportunity to serve students from various backgrounds and communities. In the southwestern region of the United States, Holbrook Indian School focuses on educating the local indigenous people. This school was established as a mission school for the unreached native groups of the Southwest. The majority of students who come to Holbrook are not Adventist and may have never even heard the gospel message. Many come from environments where they face negative influences, and some of these children grow up thinking drugs, alcohol, abuse, and neglect are normal. Their experience at Holbrook gives them a new perspective, where they find caring teachers and staff, a place where they can just be kids, and a place where they meet Jesus. Today, Holbrook is teaching students from grades 1 to 12 in practical ways. Their educational program has 4 pillars: physical health, mental health, spiritual health, and academic achievement. Each component is fundamental to the student's learning experience. In addition to core subjects, they offer classes like Native Cultural Studies, welding, woodworking, auto repair, agriculture, pottery, and horsemanship.
I don't want to be stuck on the res, because once you're on the res, you stay on the res. And I want to start something new. The one thing my grandpa taught me is that God's there for you. You just keep looking forward, don't look backwards. That's why I came to Holbrook, and Holbrook's been my home. When I'm riding horses, it just feels amazing because it's silent, it's peaceful. The only thing you can hear is just the birds chirping and the breeze and the leaves. I feel more myself. I mean, I conquered my fears on riding horses and stuff. And I have no reason to be scared of a horse because they're just horses.
When I run, it feels like home to me. I just like the smell of the trees, and you know, I like the feeling of the dirt. My brothers, they drink and they smoke. I don't like that, so I try to get away from it as possible. I decided I wanted to come to Holbrook, and when I got there, I noticed it was different. I noticed the kids there were a lot more different. They weren't so mean or so irritating. The teachers too, they were really different. They didn't seem so mean, or they just seemed calm and nice. They really helped you with all your stuff, your education. I believe that this school provided more than just 100%. And I like that. It's awesome.
Holbrook Indian School continues to give students the chance to create a better future and find hope in Jesus. Please pray for this school and others across the North American Division, and thank you for supporting Mission.
For me, in my own spiritual experience, I have seen God work in so many incredible ways. I would only say that I've been a real Christian for the past few years, and a lot of that is due to my experience being out here in Palau. For those who have never been here before, Palau, it's like nature just times 100 of anything you've ever experienced before. It's so pristine, it's so calm, it's so peaceful, and the people are so loving and they're so giving. For me personally, I feel more at home here in Palau sometimes than I do even back home in the States where I'm from. I've been here in Palau for 4 years, and I'm currently the chaplain of both the elementary school and the high school while teaching junior and senior Bible at the high school. Not only is Palau such a beautiful place to look at and to be in, but for me especially, the thing that keeps me coming back has always been the kids. I love them, and I love the interactions that we have, and I love getting to see them grow in a spiritual way. We have a lot of great spiritual emphasis programs with the school, and especially as chaplain, I've been able to see students really enjoy getting to know what the Bible has to say, and to have bravery when it comes to asking questions about the Bible so that they can learn more about what it actually has to say.
All right, guys, go back to your seats. Go back to your seats, guys. Go back to your seats. All right.
Some of the challenges that can come up from being here, one of the biggest is definitely communicating with people back home. It's hard to stay connected, and you're kind of on your own, on an island, and it can be hard sometimes to find people you can trust when it comes to furthering your spiritual experience. Seeing how God has led me and helped me make decisions and the path He's put me on for the future, I can definitely see that He's in control out here. I was scared to be the chaplain. I didn't want that responsibility. And things kind of ended up that I was able to become the chaplain for my second year coming back. And I didn't think I was ready, but I was ready to see what God could do through me in that position. The people out here are ready to hear the gospel. There's just very few people who have been willing to come out here and to serve. Jesus found His greatest blessing in service when He was here, and if we want to figure out how to get closest to Him, then our best bet is to go out and serve the same way that He did. If God calls me to stay longer, I wouldn't be opposed to it.
Okay, it's as we think about the continuation from the Reformation, when education for children became recognized, Christian education became recognized as being really important, and we think about all of those many years that have passed up to today, when here at Standiford Gap we have our own school, as well as there are many other Adventist schools in this area, including even the university, of course. And then we think about where our 13th Sabbath offering is going. It's going to go to support schools and children in schools, and we can just keep that in mind as we go through this quarter. And I think it's time for us to divide for Sabbath school classes. So if you look up on the screens, you're going to see the locations of some of the Sabbath school classes, and if you're a guest, you can follow somebody to one of the classes, and I'm sure they'll be happy to direct you to someplace if you can't figure out where it might be. And so we'll divide now.